Well, guys, it is that time where I am just completely letting loose and just talking about something completely unrelated to my channel, something I've never really talked about before. I would like to pitch a new idea to Mattel. Now, obviously, there is a 0.00% chance that anyone from Mattel will see this and take any action whatsoever, but I just feel like I have an idea, a dream perhaps, and it needs to be let out. It needs to be let out into the world, and people need to know about it because it is just possibly the greatest television pitch of all time. So we all know Mattel, famous for Barbie and Associates, Ken, Stacy, Kelly, etc. They have been around since 1959, and the 2000s were an interesting year, especially the 2010s for Barbie. There were a lot of ups and downs. Right now, it seems that Mattel is doing well, and Barbie is doing not as well as the rest of the company. The thing is, there is a lot more competition in the toy industry than there even was in the 80s and 90s. Like, I feel like the general consensus for young girls is I can get Barbie at the thrift store. Like, my nieces love thrifting with me. I obviously get most of my toys from the thrifts as an adult woman. But that is something that I see my nieces doing a lot. Barbies are widely available at the thrift stores, and I have a theory that this might be flooding the market a little bit. But regardless, I think the general consensus is, why should I buy a $15 piece of plastic Barbie who does have a great body shape? She's tall, she's short, she's thin, she's thicker, you know, that's pretty cool. But why should I buy this piece of plastic when I can buy a unicorn that shits glitter? This actually does something. I can make something in this. I stir up the ingredients, I put it in its mouth, and it shits rainbow glitter. That is amazing. Completely unheard of in the 90s, at least. And and I believe that Barbie has lost that competitive edge. When I was in Target yesterday getting groceries, I took a peruse through the Barbie aisle, and I saw a brand a little bit in disarray. I saw not only Barbies, I saw some pretty cute Barbies. I'm loving the new plus size Barbies and the new shapes and sizes, and I also saw that they had some bendable Barbies to make them more sports orientated. They had like a WNBA Barbie, they had a baseball Barbie. That was pretty neat. I hadn't seen that before. But I also saw that they were trying to branch out into a lot of non-Barbie items. For example, I saw this puppy, and I didn't even recognize it as a Barbie item. It was like a plush doll. I did not recognize it as a Barbie item. It just looked like some random dog, but it had the Barbie logo plastered on the box, so I guess it's Barbie. And they also had this rainbow bag situation going on that, again, looked nothing like Barbie. It wasn't even recognizable for the brand whatsoever. It wasn't particularly the shade of pink that Barbie uses. It didn't have her face or the logo on it, just the box said Barbie. So I'm like, okay, I guess this is Barbie now. But I think they are at a very critical point right now where we are entering a new decade, and Barbie can either come with us in that next decade and grow in popularity like it once was, or it could slowly fade out. And I have ideas for Barbie. And it is a complete rebranding, complete change in focus. This would be the boldest move that anyone has ever made, but my God, I think it would work. So, first off, we are pitching a new television show, and I have not particularly decided if it would be live action, stop motion animation like Robot Chicken style, or if it would be completely animated like the new Barbie Life in the Dream House series, but Regardless, I think we could make it work. It would be a sitcom, and it would take place in the early 90s. And before we talk about the show itself, we need to set the scene for the early 90s. Many of you might remember 1993. That was a very interesting year for Barbie and Mattel overall. They introduced a Barbie called Earring Magic Ken. And Earring Magic Ken was very interesting because he had on a mesh purple shirt, I believe, and a purple biker vest, kind of. It was like leather. And then he had something around his neck. It was a ring about like this big in human scale. Can you hear that playing? Anyways, and this has led people to call him Raver Ken, but it also is known as Gay Ken. So the speculation behind it is that sales were dropping for Ken dolls particularly, and little girls just weren't buying Ken. There is a great video on this by Fact Fiend. If you want like a whole video on that, I will link that in the description. But they were like, okay, fuck it. What are we gonna do? How are we gonna save Ken? And basically, they asked a bunch of little girls, what would make you buy Ken? And they're like, okay, well, we like Ken, but he's not that cool. We need a cooler Ken. And so they're like, okay, it's 1993. What's cool? Raves. What is cool in San Francisco? Raves. And you know what a lot of people who go to raves are? Homosexuals. So it was an important part of gay culture to have symbols to show your pride and, more importantly, show what you are available for sex as, if that makes sense. So basically, it was popular to wear a certain silver ring around your neck, around your arm, at different places meant different things. I'm not quite sure what meant what. But this ring was not just an accessory, it was a cock ring. And this is the very same ring that Earring Magic Ken's necklace was modeled after. And when this came out, the gay community was thrilled. They're like, oh, this is the most amazing thing I've ever seen. It is 1993. Do we even have Ellen yet? Do we? When did Ellen come out? I'll put it up somewhere. There was very, very little representation for the gay community. And in children's media and toys, none. None at all. So they're like, you know what? This is amazing, Mattel. We are going to buy all of your Earring Magic Kens, and we are going to just completely clear out the shelves, and we're going to send glowing letters thanking you from the gay community. And amazingly, this Earring Magic Ken became the most sold, not just Ken doll. Hey, editing Gabe here. I completely fucked up. Earring Magic Ken was the best sold Ken doll by far, but it was not the most sold Barbie doll of all time. That was Totally Hair Barbie in the year before. Barbie doll of all time. Hi, baby. Oh, hi, little girl. This fucking gay Ken doll became the most sold Barbie of all time. Specifically because of the gay community. I can find no other explanation other than the gay community loved this. And the interesting part about this is they had a rare opportunity to switch their market in a way that I don't think anyone has done before. They had a unique opportunity to completely shift their market strategies, and instead of doing that, you know what they did? They discontinued Earring Magic Ken. He was only on shelves for about 3 weeks, I believe, and in that 3-week period, he was the best-selling Barbie doll of all time. And, hi, baby girl. Can you stop that? And instead of being like, wow, this is a financial success, this is amazing, they were embarrassed. They had felt like they'd done something wrong. And maybe this is because it was genuinely accidental and they didn't anticipate the gay community to latch onto Earring Magic Ken like they did. But regardless, it happened. And they had an opportunity to make Barbie, more so Ken, for the gays. And it was lucrative. It was a very lucrative opportunity, and they completely ignored it. Flash forward 27 years later, I honestly think that they're at a turning point where they could make that opportunity happen again. The only other industry I feel like that has completely switched the market from children to adults while still maintaining its core audience of children in a smaller fraction is My Little Pony. My Little Pony, I am not a fan of the newer series. I believe that series ended, so this is kind of anecdotal. But I am a fan of the OG 80s and 90s My Little Ponies. I think they were really cute. I like their bodies. I think they're just cuties. I'm not a big fan of the new show, but that's just a personal thing. But what I think is very remarkable about My Little Pony is that it garnered such a huge adult audience, and not particularly on purpose. I know a lot of people have cited adult fans liking My Little Pony just because of the great story writing, the clever humor, stuff like that. I personally don't see that very much, but I understand it. I have watched many children's cartoons for my own enjoyment as an adult. But instead of being like, oh, this is kind of weird, I don't know, should we acknowledge this? Should we ignore it altogether? Should we try to change our writing even to make it less adult? It wasn't even adult in the first place. No, they were pretty down with it. They released a lot of adult-oriented products. That sounds really bad, but products geared towards adults. T-shirts, collectible merch that wouldn't necessarily be considered for children or to necessarily play with, more of display pieces like the vinyl figures, Funko Pops, whatever, and have participated in a lot of brony activities like conventions, stuff like that. They seem to very much engaged with their adult audience. So that is the closest example I could see of this happening. But my idea is a little different. So this idea is making an explicitly PG-13, teenage to adult Barbie sitcom. And I think the best way to do this is to have it take place in the 90s. And I think Ken should be modeled after Earring Magic Ken, and this is for obvious reasons, but I also think that the Barbie should definitely be an early 90s Barbie, and she will also be a lesbian. Ken will be gay, and Barbie is a lesbian. And let me just explain my thinking here. The 90s are back. The LGBT community is flourishing in media right now, and I feel like we are at just the point where corporations, Disney, give me a second is willing to cash out on our incessant need to see ourselves represented. And I'm okay with that. Give me a second I just want to put a little personal anecdote in here. I have loved Barbie since I was a little girl. I love dressing her up. I had a lot of my sister's Barbies from the early to mid 90s, and I loved them. I thought their fashion was so cool. I feel like the fashion is kind of boring now compared to how it was, but I am still just in awe of especially the late 80s to early 90s Barbies, because God, you might be thinking, what about Barbie says lesbian? She is one of the most feminine woman icons in history. But let me tell you, early 90s Barbie was the most femme fucking lesbian I have ever seen. Do you know who this is? This is Troll Barbie from 1992. And I just want you to take a look at her outfit and her tagline. Where is that? Yes, right here. It says, totally cool and trolled out. And she has troll earrings, troll hair in her hair, a little troll necklace, a troll t-shirt, and troll leggings. So, you guys might have guessed it already, but my username is trollfunk on everything. I am hugely inspired by Troll Barbie and trolls in general. She is iconic. And the thing about this that just screams lesbian to me as a lesbian, the traditional straight viewer may not understand this fully, but the fact that she has the earrings, it has been a known fact that lesbians have an affinity for making earrings out of things that aren't necessarily earrings. I have a few pairs of troll earrings myself. They're very cool. And just everything about it is so colorful. Notice the rainbow trolls on her leggings. It's just, I think, a beautiful representation of the LGBT community. She is amazing. An icon, truly. And I would just like to see a non-traditional form of lesbianism in media. There are many different kinds of lesbians, but I would consider her style and my style to an extent as tacky femme. Still very feminine, but tacky to the point where most straight women would stay a mile away from it. So what's the deal with Barbie and Ken in this show? Like, they're obviously not a couple. Ken is gay, Barbie's a lesbian. Who are they? What are their ambitions? So in my head, this would be taking place in 1993 in San Francisco. And Barbie is not out to her parents, and neither is Ken. So they have an apartment together, and they tell their parents back in Wisconsin, because as you guys may know, Barbie is originally from Wisconsin. They tell their parents that they are a couple. They're engaged, in fact, and they are very in love. And it was a little hard to believe at first, but their parents have accepted it. They don't visit very often, but when they do, it involves some wacky antics as they desperately try to seem romantically involved when they are in reality are just best friends, completely platonic. So they do this to appease their parents. Their parents aren't the most open-minded Wisconsins in the world. And they do this to keep up their image, and also because they think it will help them in the fashion industry. Barbie and Ken are amazingly talented fashion designers. Ken does a lot of the structural stuff, but also helps out with the designs. They work very well together as a team. They have amazing samples. The thing is, they can't really afford to have a clothing company with mass-produced items like the vast majority of people. And so in the meantime, they are working menial jobs like I haven't had anything specific figured out, like waitressing. Maybe even they could have some fun jobs like taxidermy. I don't know, just anything. I think it would be cool if like every few episodes they had different jobs inexplicably, like they just can't hold down a job. They are not meant for a 9-to-5 working job. They are meant to be creative in their home studio making clothing, okay? And I think it would be really interesting if they use some of the actual Barbie clothing that existed in the 90s. Let me just use an example here. This is actual Barbie merch, I believe, from the early to mid 90s. It is super cute. It's a fuzzy mini backpack. And I think that would be really interesting if they incorporated some of their real vintage designs into Barbie and Ken's fashion company. And my vision for the company is that Barbie is the face of it, hence it is just called Barbie. A lot of the products just say Barbie on them. Ken is a little more behind the scenes, and Barbie is the face of the company, but they still very much work together, and maybe they might butt heads a little bit from time to time, but in the end they are a team and they will be together, and they will just be living their lives. I think it would be interesting for Barbie to have a longtime girlfriend, a butch girlfriend. I would love to see that. I don't know what her name would be. I don't know what she would do. I just know she'd be like your typical 90s political anarchist lesbian from the 90s, and she would be a huge activist. I think it's fun to have a little romance, cat and mouse, like ongoing drama. So I think Ken could be a good example of some of the drama. He has many boyfriends throughout the seasons. I mean, hopefully we would get more than one season, and it would be like a Full House situation where they're always cycling through boyfriends, but Barbie still has her girlfriend. They might have issues, but they are still like OTP Endgame. And I think it would be really interesting to incorporate Barbie's sisters, because of course Barbie has a few sisters. Maybe they could come to visit once in a while. She could talk to them on the phone. That would be really interesting to me. I feel like maybe with Stacy, she seems to be pretty close in age to Stacy. She would be a little more open with her. Maybe she would even be out to Stacy, but not to her parents or Kelly, any of the little ones. I think that could be very interesting. And just incorporating a mix of brand new characters and like Barbie's girlfriend and the old characters kind of styled in a new way. Like, let's bring Midge back. Fuck it. Like, when's the last time we've heard from Midge? Her wedding? Her fucking stupid little baby that pops out of her stomach? I don't know. So I think that would be really interesting. I would love to do something with this, but obviously I do not have the power. I think this show would do very well on Netflix. I see it as a mix between like Full House, One Day at a Time, and then Barbie Life in the Dream House, of course. They already seem to have an ongoing relationship with Netflix as Barbie Life in the Dream House airs there. And I think this could be a really interesting opportunity. And I feel like you could get the perfect balance where the entire family is very into Barbie. We might have to add Midge and her husband in as the like token stray characters again, because we gotta keep them entertained, the parents. I think this could be a very unique situation where you could have the adult Barbie show and have Barbie Life in the Dream House as a completely separate universe, still ongoing, and still having the Barbies. And you could introduce the characters from the show as actual Barbie licensed items, and the kids wouldn't necessarily have to watch the show or be fans of the show or even have their parents let them watch it to enjoy the Barbies. Because the thing about Barbies is it's very maladaptive. You can create your own stories with these Barbies. Like, hey, this Barbie has short hair and is best friends with Barbie, you know? Maybe she can join a softball team or something. And I think it's very interesting. And you know what? This show could honestly be a PG show if it wasn't for the fact that all of the characters are adults. I just think it's an interesting opportunity, and Disney has considered doing this, I think, with Lizzie McGuire, but that obviously didn't work out. They were thinking of doing a reboot with a PG-13 30-year-old Lizzie. I was so ready for that. I feel like this could be a perfect example of how you can do that and have it work well. So I think this could be a really interesting opportunity. And then again, with the fashion line within the show, you could have some of the designs in adult and little girls' clothing and make a shit ton of money off of that. Like, are you kidding me? Bring back this. We love this. Like, and it seems like Mattel has had some interest in reviving the nostalgia for 90s Barbie, especially in clothing. They did a collection with Forever 21 not too long ago, which I obviously wasn't purchasing, but I do think it was interesting. I like the designs. I think it could go for a very retro feel. Maybe they'd even do like a 60s throwback episode, like Girl Meets World style, where they just like are thrust back into the 60s and they recreate some of the iconic early Barbie designs. That would be really cool if they did throwback episodes like that. And you can tell I'm excited about this. And I just feel like it could be an interesting opportunity to create a multifaceted brand with a well-loved brand already. Barbie has the recognition. She just doesn't have the unique edge that would make her stand out like she did in the 60s. So this was my idea. This video is probably really long and really stupid, but I just have had this idea for a couple years now, and I wanted to let it out there. Let me know what you think. Add your own ideas. This is a collaborative piece of work. If it was live action, who do you think would play Barbie? Who do you think would play Ken? Just go crazy. I don't know why I made this, but shout out to Jenny Nicholson. She has done a few videos like this, I think with My Little Ponies. Like, I'm not even that big of a fan of the new My Little Ponies, but I watched a lot of her videos where she does like her ideas for a new generation or reboot of something. I think it's very creative, and I think that's kind of what got my juices rolling in the first place when I first thought of this. So I hope you guys enjoyed this and this wasn't just an extreme like acid trip, like you have no idea what I'm talking about. I hope it makes sense, and I hope that you guys got something out of it if you just thought it was funny or you genuinely want this to happen like I do. But anyways, this has been the first of my absolute nonsense videos, and I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye!